We did not know until Jimmy Lai was arrested that he had a British passport. And then after he was arrested, he claimed that he was a British citizen, and his family and legal representatives have been urging the British government to intervene in the independent judicial process of his trial. Now, if he's British, which we didn't know before he was arrested, somehow he was hiding this from the Hong Kong and international public. What was a foreigner doing in Hong Kong politics? What was a foreigner doing in Hong Kong to promote democracy in Hong Kong? Now, obviously there's something behind what he was doing. If we put the boot on the other foot, I'm sure the British government, and for that matter, any other government in the world, including the US government, would not allow, firstly, a foreign national to own such a large media organization. They would not allow the owner of this organization to organize and lead public processions. They will not allow this foreign national to go to the US government, to go to the White House, to meet with the Vice President, the National Security Advisor, and the Secretary of State on one visit to make requests to the US government for them to intervene in Hong Kong politics. So I think these are the very, very basic facts about this man. A foreigner has no place in another country's politics, and definitely no place, as a matter of definition, in fostering so-called democracy in this other country. I have read literally all the columns that were written by Jimmy Lai himself. He had a column in his own newspaper, the Apple Daily, every Sunday. I read every single word of what he wrote in his own newspaper. I have also followed his speeches, his interviews in the foreign media. He was no ordinary media owner. He obviously owned a very large and very influential media organization in Hong Kong and Taiwan, for that matter. And in his latter days, he wanted to publish an English equivalent of the Chinese language Apple Daily. In addition to all these media roles that he had, he's also the biggest financial supporter of the opposition political parties and opposition political figures in Hong Kong. We have seen, because somehow someone hacked into the computer system of his American personal assistant, Mark Simon, and made public all such computer files which show, among many other things, the purchase of bank drafts by Mark Simon, always at the Kwun Tong branch of the HSBC. Mark Simon would then, having provided these bank drafts to the opposition parties and opposition figures in Hong Kong, look to Jimmy Lai for reimbursement. All these are in full public view. So he's no ordinary media owner. He also took part in very high-profile anti-China, anti-Hong Kong demonstrations. No country would accept someone to play this role. Hong Kong is a very open society. We are a special administrative region established under the principle of one country, two systems, and Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong with a high degree of autonomy. Now that obviously gives Hong Kong people what Hong Kong people want. We have a pretty free environment compared to many other parts of the world. But that could be, to someone like Jimmy Lai and his supporters in the international community, someone who own the media organization, who's the mastermind behind all these, and the biggest donor to political parties and figures in Hong Kong, the soft belly of China. We're very cosmopolitan, we're very open, and we have very, very close connections with the mainland of China. These are the attributes of Hong Kong, provided people like Jimmy Lai do not abuse it. And we want to make sure that while we have all these liberties, we also protect the security of the mainland and the security of the country as a whole. So Jimmy Lai had his way before the national security law was enacted. We had a national security legal vacuum. Despite the fact that Hong Kong SAR is required under Article 23 of the Basic Law, which is often described as the mini constitution of Hong Kong, to enact laws on its own to guard against sedition, secession, treason, etc., etc. 20-something years after Hong Kong's return to the motherland, to China, Hong Kong, due to opposition, did not enact this law. And the national security law of China, the country as a whole, does not apply to Hong Kong. So there's a vacuum. And so Jimmy Lai had his way until he's brought to justice after we enacted the national security law. And so I think we need to look at the background as well. We also need to look at the history of how Jimmy Lai became what he was before he was arrested. He made his fortunes by selling his newspapers and other publications. And who paid him? Apart from the ordinary readers who pay several dollars per copy of Apple Daily, it was the advertisers. Who were the advertisers? These advertisers were enterprises big and small, including some international global enterprises. So I think we need to reflect on this. It wasn't Jimmy Lai, the person himself, but it was the fact that we had a legal vacuum. We don't have any law to protect Hong Kong, protect the whole of China against people like Jimmy Lai. And then somehow people in Hong Kong were so scared of Jimmy Lai that under duress, they paid Jimmy Lai advertisement money to take out full-page commercial advertisements in his newspaper. Unless his family members had the ill intent of not seeing Jimmy Lai as a free man again, what they did in the international community by going to the UK, going to the US, and giving public media interviews, etc., etc., were totally counterproductive. It's foolhardy. I don't know who were advising them. I know they have a legal team. I don't know how much the legal team charged. They might be getting the best of legal advice. The best legal advice should have been they should just argue the case in court. I hope that the lawyers were not giving them political or PR advice at the same time, because the political and PR actions that Jimmy Lai's son, Sebastian, and Jimmy Lai's other family members have been doing in the international community are simply counterproductive. They wanted to interfere with Hong Kong's judicial process. They simply expose more crimes that Jimmy Lai committed. When it comes to the question of so-called 5-year imprisonment, we all know that Jimmy Lai was first imprisoned for defrauding the Hong Kong Science and Technology Park, for using the Next Media building where they carry out the publication business for personal use. And that piece of land was granted to Next Media at a heavily subsidized price. And Jimmy Lai and his son and the company that they own on the private side of their business should not have used the premises for such purposes. And therefore, they were prosecuted for fraud, and they were imprisoned for fraud. The Western media has somehow either innocently or ignorantly painted the picture that Jimmy Lai was behind bars for 5 years waiting for his national security trial.